everybody, and welcome to Daron's Kitchen. I am, as you guessed it, Daron. And what we're going to do today is we're going to bake together because that's what I do. I love pastry, and we're going to make cookies together today. The idea behind this video is I want to give you a few tips and a few ideas of what you can do in the kitchen. And since we're all home, we're all quarantined, self-quarantined, supposed to be. If you're not, go home. The idea is that we can all bake together. I'm sure a lot of you have kids that are at home from school. Everybody's bored. We have a lot of time to kill. So what we're going to do together is we're going to create an activity for the entire family to work on together. And then at the end of the day, you're going to have some goodies to eat after dinner because who cares about dinner? Everybody wants to get to dessert. So what we're making today are probably most people's favorite Nutella stuffed chocolate chip cookies. Because who doesn't like a chocolate chip cookie? If you don't, please leave. Okay? So what we're doing first is we're going to make portioned balls of Nutella and put them on our tray so we can freeze them. It's gonna be so much easier for us to use later. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm using 2 spoons. Sorry, I already used them, they're dirty. We're gonna take a bit, they're just teaspoons, sorry. And you just portion them as evenly as you can. Use 2 spoons just to get the Nutella off and try to make them as round as possible. And we're just gonna keep going. If you're making a full recipe, the recipe will be in the comment section below. You'll need about 30 of these portioned Nutellas. If you're doing half a recipe, which is what we're doing today, you only need about 15, 16, so play it by ear. And you're gonna keep going as such until you have enough Nutella for your cookies. So we're gonna take this now, and we're gonna put it in our freezer. And remember to make space in your freezer before, because you don't want to be stuck afterwards. So Nutella for now is done unless you want to snack on it while you're making the cookies, which is also fun. So what we're going to do first is we're going to use my best friend, the butter. Okay, so butter is the best thing in the world. I love butter. If you don't like butter, we have to introduce you to real butter because butter is the best. You can use it as butter ice cream. Not kidding. So butter is really my favorite thing. So what we're going to do first is we're going to make beurre noisette, as they call it in French. It's a French culinary term. And it basically means we're going to cook our butter down until it becomes a bit translucent. It becomes translucent. And it has this fantastic hazelnutty aroma, which is where the word comes from, beurre noisette, meaning hazelnut. And so this is our beurre noisette, as we showed you the process. As you can see on the bottom, you have a nice little brown film. You want that. The darker that is, the more flavorful it'll be, but don't go too dark because you can always risk burning the butter. And as you can see from beside the foam, it's pretty translucent. That's what you want your butter to look like. And at this point, you have a very nice nutty smell to it. It's almost like it's so nutty that it's sweet. That's the best way I can describe it. And the whole house smells like this. The smell is very potent, but it's very flavorful almost. I'm telling you, you're going to want to drink this. It smells really good. If I didn't love butter, I love it even more now. Oh yeah. As we're waiting for our butter to cool down, in the meantime, we're going to start doing our mixes. So I have my bowl. Here I have my regular sugar. In case you wonder, I'm doing half the batch that you would be doing, just so you know. So if you see the quantity is a bit less, don't be too surprised. So this is just our regular caster sugar. And here, you're supposed to have your brown sugar, or cassonade as they say in French, and I actually didn't have any. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use regular sugar, and how you can make cassonade is measure the portion that you need, and we're going to add 2 teaspoons of molasses. If you don't have molasses, you can always put 2 teaspoons of honey or 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. You just need some kind of sugar to go in there. and to mix it all together nicely, and you're gonna have cassonade, so you don't need to go out and buy if you don't have it. That's the great thing about it. I can't open it. Okay, now that we finally have our molasses open, we're gonna put, remember I'm just doing half a batch, so I'm gonna put 1 big teaspoon of molasses. That's a giant teaspoon, but that's fine. Put it in your sugar, and we're just gonna mix it around. So I just switched tools because I was having a hard time with the spoon. But here, once you mix it, it takes a bit of time to mix it. Not that much time, but just it's not as straightforward as you would hope for. But you have yourself a really nice cassonade. It's actually better than the ones you can buy in the store. It's going to be very flavorful. That's the best way I can put it. And so we're going to add our 2 sugars together as such. Give that mix. And you don't have to mix it too well. What we're going to add to our sugars is we're going to put our butter finally. And here's my best friend. And we're just going to add the butter to the sugars. And make sure you get all those little bits on the bottom of the pan. Sometimes they stick to the pan, which is fine. You can use a spoon to scrape them off. But make sure you get all of those sediments that fall on the bottom, because that's where all your flavor is. And you're really, really going to want that. That's what's going to give that difference to your cookie rather than a regular cookie. Of course, if you don't want to do this beurre noisette step, if you're not too comfortable with it, you can always just use softened butter at room temperature, or just melt the butter and use it as is. But if you do manage to make the beurre noisette, I'm telling you, you're not going to regret it. The smell right now, I just want to eat this with a spoon. That's how good it smells. Next, once that's nicely mixed, make sure it's not too hot, because you don't want to cook the egg when you throw it in there. Now, we're going to add our 1 egg. You're going to have 2. And always crack the egg on a flat surface, please. Don't use the edge of the bowl, because then you're going to have egg leaking down everywhere. It's going to go everywhere on the counter. Please don't do that. Please. When we add our egg, we give it a nice mix. Often you're going to see in recipes that they ask for you to whiten this. It's really only to make sure the sugars are nicely melted. You don't really have to mix it too much if you're doing it by hand. If you're doing it with a mixer, even better. You should have an easier time. But the whole point again is to show you all you need is a bowl and a spatula to do what you need to do. And now, next step, once our sugars and our butter is nicely melted, with the egg of course, we're going to add our vanilla extract. Now the vanilla extract is really just there to kill the flavor of the egg, because you don't want your cookie to taste like an egg, or smell like an egg for that matter. And what it does, it really just accentuates all the flavors and brings everything together. So it's just a small step. You could not put it if you did your beurre noisette if you don't like, but it's always a nice extra you can add. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our dry ingredients. So here we have our flour. It's going to go straight in there. Then, here I already have pre-scaled, pre-measured my cornstarch and my salt. And finally here we have our baking powder and our baking soda. I already mixed it together right in there. If you'd like, you can mix all the dry ingredients together in one bowl and then add it in here. Of course, you always have that option. And what we're going to do, we're just going to give it a gentle spin to make sure everything comes together. And you're going to see it's going to start off very soft, and it's going to get a bit more difficult to mix, but don't worry, that's completely normal. And you don't have to mix too long if you're doing it by hand, not even by mixer. The less you mix the cookie batter, the better it's going to be for you, because the more you mix, the more you're going to have your gluten develop in your cookie, and it's going to come out breadier and doughier actually, and you don't want that. You want it to be nice, flaky, and a soft cookie that's just going to fall apart. And here you go. I barely mix it. I still have some flour laying around there, but that's fine. And that's pretty much all you need to do, just to bring your dry ingredients together with the wet ingredients, and that's it. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to add your chocolate chip cookie. Well, chocolate chips, not the cookie, obviously, but you're going to add your chocolate chips. So, If you don't have chocolate chips at home, I'm pretty sure if you open your pantry, you're going to find some old bar of chocolate that you've forgotten about. Just cut it up and put it in there. The finer you chop it, the better it is, and it's a perfect opportunity to get that stuff out of the pantry that you had forgotten about. So we're going to add our chips. If you find your chocolate chips are too big, you can always chop them. Since we're going to stuff them later, the finer the chocolate chips are chopped, the easier it's going to be to stuff them. So we just give it a nice mix just to combine the chocolate chips in there. And our batter, our dough batter, is ready. Cookie batter, I mean, not dough batter, is ready. And if you'd like to stop here, you could, because you have a very flavorful chocolate chip cookie right now. But if you want to add the extra step of Nutella, which we are going to because we love Nutella, it's just going to be a little extra. Now that we have our cookie dough already mixed, what we're going to do is we're going to portion them. So I'm using just a regular ice cream scoop. Just use whatever you have at home. If you don't have an ice cream scoop, a big tablespoon works too. Maybe only 2 tablespoons to get it off. But I'm going to use a tablespoon with the ice cream scoop actually. So we're going to portion it. Here we go. So we have 1 ice cream scoop. Boom. And so on until we have all of our dough so that we can later stuff it with our Nutella. So now that we have all of our cookie dough portioned, what we're going to do is we're going to go get our Nutella goodies out of the freezer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our cookie dough, just make a little flat cylinder in our hands, circle I mean, stuff it inside and just close it over. Pop, 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 pop. And here is what we have, closed all over. You don't need to make it a perfect circle, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's one. Next one. That's pretty much what you're going to do until all of your cookie dough is done with. And like I said, if you don't want to stuff them, you don't need to. If you want to be festive, you can chop up some mini eggs and put it in there instead of putting chocolate chips, whatever you'd like. And finally, right before we stick them in the oven, because we want it to be fancy, we are going to sprinkle our cookies with Fleur. Again, this step is optional. You do not need to do this. But once you put the Fleur and you taste what the cookie tastes like with the Fleur, you're never going to want a cookie without it. It's just going to give that extra pop. So now we're putting our cookies in the oven. The oven is preheated at 375 degrees. And we're going to leave it in there 6 minutes, rotate, and leave it another 4 to 6 minutes, depending on how strong your oven is. So it's going to be a maximum of 10 to 12 minutes they're going to bake in there. And don't bake them too long because then the Nutella is going to get really hard. So these are my Nutella stuffed cookies. 2 of them actually I didn't have enough Nutella, so they're just regular chocolate chip cookies. And these I'm going to stick in the freezer. That way, if I ever need, I'll have cookies whenever I feel like it. And here they are, beautifully golden brownish. And I'm going to attempt to touch it with my finger. It's going to be a bit too hot. But I just want to show you, okay, it's really too hot. I will use a spoon. And as you can see, we have our soft, melted Nutella center. And that is how you make Nutella stuffed chocolate chip cookies. Can't wait to eat them, but they're a bit too hot right now. And that's pretty much all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this little class, this little video that we made for you today. If you have any questions, comments, or if you have suggestions on maybe other recipes that you'd like me to see me try, let me know. Comment in the section below, and we'll take it from there. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope it's the first of many. Stay safe, stay indoors, wash your hands a minimum of 20 seconds, and I'll see you guys next time around. See you later.